5 couples, 4 ceremonies, 2 marriages, 1 altar interception that broke the internet, and 1 couch conversation on a wedding morning that was somehow more devastating than any no at any altar has ever been. This is the Love is Blind Season 10 Ohio Wedding Recap. Every ceremony, every vow, every yes, and every no. Every moment that made you put your phone down and just sit there feeling things you did not expect to feel during a Netflix reality show on a Wednesday night. We are going in order, start to finish, all of it. Let us go. Before we even get to the first ceremony, we need to talk about where all of this happened, because the venue is actually a part of the story this season in a way it never quite has been before. The Love is Blind Season 10 weddings were filmed at 2 locations in central Ohio. The main venue was White Willow Meadows, a luxury barn venue in Orient, Ohio, just outside of Columbus. It opened its doors in August 2024. 5 months later, it received an email from a production company describing itself as working on a couples project and needing a venue for April 2025. The owner of White Willow Meadows said it looked like spam. She Googled the signature on the email. It said, Kinetic Content. The production company behind Love is Blind, The Ultimatum, and Married at First Sight. And she said, oh my gosh, this is the real deal. The wedding days were filmed on back-to-back days. The crew started at 7 in the morning. If a couple said yes and went straight into a reception, the reception ran until 11 at night. And then the crew had to tear everything down, reset the entire space, and start again the next morning with a completely different mood board for the next couple. Every single wedding in that venue had its own custom design, its own color palette, its own flower arrangements, its own version of what love looks like on the most important day of 2 people's lives. And on some of those days, love did not show up. And the flowers and the custom mood boards and the 11 p.m. teardowns happened for nothing. Now let us get into the actual ceremonies. The first wedding shown in the finale was not actually the first wedding filmed, but it was the one that ended episode 11 on a cliffhanger and carried all the way into the opening minutes of episode 12. And that was Emma and Mike. Emma Betzinger, a Columbus retail merchandiser, walked down that aisle in a stunning gown. She had been the one carrying the most vulnerability into this ceremony. Not because she did not love Mike, she clearly did, but because she knew the children question had never been fully resolved between them. She knew what Mike needed to hear, and she knew she could not fully give it to him in the way he required. She said, I do anyway. Not because she was performing, not because she wanted to win the moment, but because in that dress, standing in front of his family and her family and the cameras, she looked at Mike Gibney and chose him anyway. With all of the uncertainty still sitting in her chest, she chose him. Mike said he was not ready, that he wanted kids and needed to know she was 100% certain, not hopeful, not a glimpse of a future family, 100% certain. And just like that, the first ceremony of the finale ended without a marriage. Now here's the detail about Emma and Mike that gets to me every single time. After the ceremony, Emma walked up to Mike and told him she still wanted to marry him. Still. After he said no at the altar, after she had just experienced one of the most painful public rejections of her life, she walked up to the man who had just said no and told him she still loved him and still wanted to be with him. Mike told her he needed certainty, not glimpses. They still follow each other on social media, and the reunion on March 11th is going to hold a conversation between these two that a lot of people are bracing themselves to watch. Now Brittany and Devante. And this one did not even make it to White Willow Meadows. On what was supposed to be their wedding morning, Devante sat down with Brittany on the couch and told her he could not go through with it. He said he had self-doubt, that he could not walk into a marriage wondering if he could love her the way she needed to be loved. that the more he felt pressured, the more he pulled back. Brittany told him she believed they were just pressing pause, that she was 99% sure she was still going to marry Devante one day. She reminded him and the cameras that she had bought her wedding dress before the pods even opened, that she had the dress and the lashes and the heels. She was so ready. She was so completely, heartbreakingly ready for something that had already ended in his head. Devante said everything was great between them, and then said he could not get married. Those two things existing in the same sentence is one of the most revealing moments of the entire season. Everything is great, and I cannot marry you are not things that should be able to coexist, but for Devante, they did. And that coexistence tells you everything about why this relationship was always going one direction. Brittany did not fall apart in that moment. She held herself together with every piece of dignity she had, and that might be the most quietly devastating thing this season asked us to watch. They did not make it to the venue. The mood board for their wedding day went unused, and the flowers were probably beautiful. Now Ashley and Alex, and this is the ceremony that completely rewrote the rules of what a Love is Blind altar moment can look like. Ashley Carpenter, a claims manager from Ashtabula, Ohio, walked down the aisle to marry Alex Henderson, a Westlake native whose stories about his life had been leaving her confused and concerned for weeks. His job, his living situation, his ex-girlfriend, his timeline. Nothing ever fully added up, and the night before the wedding, Alex told her privately that he did not think they had gotten there. He warned her, he gave her a heads up, and Ashley showed up to that ceremony anyway. White Willow Meadows was decorated beautifully for their day. The mood board had been executed to perfection. The flowers were arranged, the chairs were filled with their families and friends. Everything looked exactly like what a wedding is supposed to look like. And then Ashley walked in and made it something else entirely. The officiant turned to Alex and began asking him if he would take Ashley to be his wife. Standard format, the groom goes first on this show. He holds the power of the first answer. Ashley stepped forward before he could speak. She said she already knew his answer, that it did not matter to her, that she knew he did not choose her, and she was not choosing him either. She told him there had been no effort after the pods, no intimacy, no curiosity about who she was as a real person outside of that experiment. She said they had become roommates the moment they moved into that apartment together. She said he said a lot of words, but she always found herself more confused after their conversations than before. And then she said it. The line that has been quoted everywhere since that episode dropped. Lying is non-negotiable for me. And then she said, saying no to you today is a win. She turned to her father, who is a divorce lawyer, and asked him to walk her out. And she left that ceremony with her head held completely high. No tears, no second guessing, done. Alex said he disagreed with her characterization of his integrity. He said her questions about his past felt more like an attempt to catch him in something than a genuine effort to understand him. His mother, sitting in the audience, was visibly unhappy about being called a liar by association. And when a friend asked Alex if he wanted to go check on Ashley after the ceremony, he said no, and walked the other direction. That no said more about Alex Henderson than anything he said during the entire season. The internet response to Ashley's altar moment was immediate and overwhelming. One reviewer said she delivered a speech that will likely define season 10. Another said the show typically follows a script, and Ashley tore that script up. A local Ohio outlet said she halted her wedding to call out her former fiancé's alleged lies, and that you almost feel sorry for him. Almost. Ashley told a post-finale interview that she deserved something so much more extraordinary, that what was on offer was subpar at best, and that she was not apologizing for knowing that. Now Jordan and Amber. the ceremony that surprised everyone who had been watching Jordan's hesitation all season. Jordan Faith, a Columbus account executive, had been anxious about the step-parent question all the way up to that morning, the city question, whether he would have to give up his life to step into hers. He told the cameras he did not want to sacrifice his lifestyle of going to bars and concerts. Amber, a Mount Vernon nurse practitioner, was hesitant to move cities for her daughter's school. And then right before the ceremony, Jordan met Amber's daughter Emma for the very first time. They sat on the floor together. They played. Emma made him a card, a handmade card. And whatever wall Jordan had been building between himself and this decision came down in that moment in a way that no conversation during the entire season had managed to achieve. At the altar, Amber was asked to go first. She said, "I do." And then she added something that almost nobody on this show has ever said while standing at an altar. She told Jordan she understood if he had doubts, that she had a lot going on, that she would not hold it against him. She gave him an out, right there in front of everyone, because she loved him more than she needed to win. And Jordan said he wanted to follow his heart and say, "I do." The officiant asked for confirmation. Jordan said yes, and the room erupted. Christine and Vic were cheering. The families were crying. Emma was watching from the front row. They were married on April 9th, 2025. And what came after that is a whole separate story. A story that involves a reportedly empty apartment, a missing ring, and a reunion stage confrontation that is expected to be the first divorce announcement in American Love is Blind history. But in that ceremony, in that venue, on that April day in Ohio, it was real, and it was beautiful. And then the last ceremony of the season, the one the whole season had been building toward. Christine Hamilton and Victor St. John. Cleveland speech-language pathologist and Ohio State professor, the couple who got engaged faster than anyone, argued less than anyone, and communicated better than anyone. The couple that Christine's mom approved of immediately by declaring Vic hot. The couple that went to Malibu instead of Mexico because they already knew they did not need the group trip drama to figure out what they were. Vic's sister officiated the ceremony, which is the kind of detail that tells you everything about how real this felt to both of them. You do not ask your sister to officiate a wedding you are uncertain about. You ask your sister when you know. Vic told Christine in his vows that she knew more about him than anyone else on the planet at that moment, that she accepted him completely and he accepted her completely. Christine said her piece, and both of them said "I do" without a single hesitation. Not a pause, not a catch in the voice, not a glance away. Just yes. After the ceremony, Vic told the cameras it was the best day of his life times 10, that he had never felt love like that before. And they walked out of White Willow Meadows as husband and wife, with Vic's sister and their families and the whole Ohio season behind them. And according to everything that has been reported since filming Wrapped, they are still married today, still together, still going strong. One local Ohio journalist who covered the finale wrote that the entire season was leading to these two normal people saying "I do," and they did not let us down. And that their story had inspired a rethinking of the Ohio dating scene reputation entirely. Out of 7 couples who left the pods engaged, 2 made it to a marriage that is still standing. That is the math of this season. 14%. Which one reviewer pointed out is probably a worse success rate than just meeting someone at a bar. But here's the thing about that 14%. The 2 marriages that came out of season 10 are Amber and Jordan, who are about to face a reunion stage divorce announcement, and Vic and Christine, who are still married and appear to be genuinely happy. Which means of 7 engaged couples, one is still standing the way it was supposed to stand. One couple left those pods, said "I do" at that venue, and is still together today the way they promised they would be. And for a show called Love is Blind, one real marriage out of 7 attempts is somehow both a failure statistic and a complete vindication of the experiment at the same time. Because Vic and Christine found each other in those pods, and they are still together. And that means something. The reunion drops March 11th. The venue has already been cleared, the flowers are already arranged on that stage, and every person who walked in and out of White Willow Meadows this April is going to sit back down and answer for everything that happened after the cameras stopped rolling. Comment below right now. Which ceremony hit you the hardest this season? Mike's snow? Brittany on that couch? Ashley's speech? Or Vic saying it was the best day of his life times 10? Because every single one of those moments is living rent-free in my head. And I want to know which one you are still thinking about. If this recap gave you everything you came for, a like genuinely helps this channel reach more people. Subscribe if you are new, because the full reunion breakdown drops the night of March 11th, and you absolutely do not want to miss it. Ohio Pod Squad, the venue is empty now. The reunion stage is ready. Let us finish this.